Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Is the screen visible?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So we have completed already section 1. So we start with section 2, chapter 4, that is memory organization. Now, by this time, we know that what are the different types of memory that exist in computer system. Which are the two type of memory?
Primary, secondary.
Correct. We have two type of memory inside the computer system, that is primary and secondary. What comes inside primary memory?
RAM, ROM.
RAM.
RAM and ROM.
RAM and ROM. And what comes under secondary memory?
Hard
HDD,
drive.
HDD and HDD,
Optics. Optical.
optical, optical disk. What comes under optical disk?
Device drivers.
No, device driver doesn't come under optical disk.
Floppy disk. Floppy disk.
Floppy
Ma'am,
disk, CDs,
CDs?
DVDs, correct. Floppy disk, CDs, DVDs all come under optical disk. So computer has two types of memory, primary and secondary. Now, your computer system does not have only primary and memory. We also have something called as high speed memory. Anyone is aware about what is high speed memory or which of? Okay, only register.
Register.
Only register. Have you heard a word cache memory?
Yes,
Mm.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Have you heard interleaved memory?
No, ma'am.
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. So when I talk about register, cache, and interleaved memory, they all are considered to be as a high-speed memory. So along with your primary and secondary memory, we also have high-speed memory, which are cache, register, and interleaved memory. So when I say about memory organization, all of this memory types, that is RAM, ROM, hard disk, optical disk, cache, registers, floppy disk, interleaved memory, they fall into an hierarchy or they come in an hierarchy. We have register first. After register, we have magnetic disk, magnetic tapes. Then we have magnetic drives. After that, we have cache memory, and then we will have primary memory, that is RAM, ROM, and on top we will have secondary memory. So when I say internal memory, what do you mean by internal memory? Internal memory, which means what? It is a memory which is there on your motherboard. Okay, so we know that RAM is a type of a primary memory, but when I say RAM, there are two types of RAM: SRAM and DRAM. SRAM stands for static RAM and DRAM stands for dynamic RAM. My system can have both means either my motherboard can have SRAM or my motherboard can have DRAM also. But how should I identify whether my system supports SRAM or DRAM? I have to check the motherboard. Okay. If my motherboard slots are of SRAM, I have to go buy SRAM and insert SRAM. If on my motherboard I have a if my motherboard has a DRAM slots, I have to insert DRAM. Okay, so I have to check the slots on the motherboard, and depending on that slots, I have to purchase the RAM. Now, what is SRAM? It means static RAM. Okay, S stands for static, and RAM stands for random access memory. Only for cache memory. Dynamic
Ma'am, your voice is breaking.
now.
Ma'am, your voice is breaking.
No, ma'am.
Still is no, no, not
No, ma'am, not clear.
No, ma'am. Not now.
Am I clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So when I say SRAM, it stands for static random access memory. And when I say DRAM, it stands for dynamic random access memory. Now, SRAM is used with your cache memory and DRAM is used with your main memory. Okay. Now, when do we use cache memory and when do we use main memory? Or we use both when we want to execute a program? What is the condition? Anybody? If I have a program, addition of two numbers, and if I have stored that addition of two numbers program in my secondary memory, and if I want to execute, how that execution will happen? Will I use both cache memory and main memory, or will I use any one?
And both.
Main memory.
Correct. I will be using both. What will happen when I give the program to the system for execution? What will processor do? The processor will first search for that program, addition program, into cache memory. Why it will search inside the cache memory? Because it is a memory which is inside the processor, and hence it is considered to be as a high speed memory. So it will search for that program in the cache memory. If it is not found in the cache memory, it will go and search in the main memory. If it is still not found in the main memory, it will be there in your secondary memory. So as I told, we have stored the program in the secondary memory. So it will bring that program which is there in the secondary memory and load it into the main memory and then execute it from main memory. So whenever I execute any program or when I do any operation in my system, I am going to use both the memory, that is cache memory as well as main memory. Usage of secondary memory depends only if your data is stored in the secondary memory. Is this clear up till here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So if I have SRAM, I am going to use only cache memory. Why only cache memory? Because SRAM stores all its content inside the cache memory. But when I talk about DRAM, I'm going to use the main memory. Now let us understand this. Before we move to next, can anyone tell me the difference between static and dynamic? What do you mean by static and what do you mean by dynamic?
Ma'am, static means it remains the same.
Yes, static
And
means it
dynamic
remains
changes.
constant and
Constant.
dynamic means it keeps on changing.
Change.
Now your computer understands only one language, which is binary. So if it is static, that means it can be either 0 and it will continue to remain in 0, or it will be 1, continue to remain in 1 unless and until it is changed. But if it is dynamic, it can be 0, it can be 1, again it can be 1, again it can be 0, it will keep on changing. So if I have a data which is constant, I call it as SRAM, where the data is stored in static RAM and therefore it is constant. But if it keeps on changing from 0 to 1 and 1 to 0, that means it is dynamic RAM and therefore the data is getting changed. So now let us see SRAM or the advantages of SRAM. First, it is very faster. Why it is considered to be as faster?
Because it is a
Cache memory.
Correct,
inside
because it is used for the cache memory. So since we know that cache memory is a memory inside the processor, so it is going to be very fast. And since SRAM is used for cache memory, therefore SRAM is also faster. In what terms it will be faster?
storage.
In terms
In
of
reading and writing.
correct, in terms of storage as well as in terms of retrieval. So whenever I want to read, my read operation will be performed very fast. If I want to write anything, my write operation will also be performed very fast. What is the other feature? That it is very expensive. It is expensive in compared to DRAM. Why it is expensive? Because again, it is a part of a processor itself. So if we go to buy a RAM and if we go to buy a processor, the price of processor is anytime more than the price of your RAM. Therefore, SRAM, since it is a part of a cache memory and since cache memory is a part of your processor, therefore SRAM is expensive as compared to DRAM. Clear up till here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now let us study characteristics of memory system. Now we have already seen that a computer has a CPU, which we have covered in third lesson. Computer has a ALU, which is a part of CPU, which we have covered in second lesson. Now apart from that CPU, input, output, registers and processor, we have also a memory as a part of a computer. Now what are the characteristics of this memory system? First characteristic is storage capacity. What is storage capacity?
How much storage it can store data it can store.
Correct. How much amount of data that particular memory can store is considered to be as a storage capacity. Now we know that cache is a memory, RAM is a memory, Then hard disk is a memory, floppy disk is a memory, CD is a memory, DVD is a memory, magnetic tape, magnetic disk, all these are types of memory. Now, when I consider each and every memory, every one of them has different type of storage. Your hard disk will have a storage which is of very high capacity in terms of TB. You have memory, RAM memory, that is main memory, which will have storage in terms of capacity, storage capacity in terms of MBs or GB, 2 GB, 3 GB, 4 GB, 256 MB. These are the ranges in which your RAM can store the data. If I say cache, you might have heard that cache is also of different types, L1, L2, L3. So if it is L1, it is lowest, having only 64 KB of storage. If it is L2, it is 256 KB of storage. So what is this KB, MB, GB, TB? These are nothing but the storage capacity that a individual memory is holding. So the first characteristic is storage capacity, which is nothing but how much amount of data can be stored in a particular memory system. How do we categorize them? We categorize them, as I said, in KB, MB, and GB and TB. So we say number of words or number of bytes. How much is one word?
16-bit.
16 bits. And how much is one bytes?
8 bits.
8 bits. So whatever data is stored, your data will be either in the form of bits or it will be in the form of words. Okay, so that is what is storage capacity. Next is unit of transfer. Unit of transfer means unit of transfer.
In which unit the data is transferred?
No. How much bits the data is transferred. That is what is called as unit of transfer. If I am transferring 8 bits, that means my unit of transfer is 8 bits. If I transfer 16 bits, my unit of transfer is 16 bits. If I transfer 128 bits, my unit of transfer is 128 bits. So it is number of bits that are transferred to perform either read or write operation. Okay, so if I require 8 bits to send the data, that means 8 bits to read the data. So unit of transfer will be 8 bits. If I require 16 bits to write the data, that means unit of transfer is 16 bits. So it is number of bits that are used to perform the read and write operation. If I've opened a Word file and if I'm typing a letter, and if I'm going to store that Word file into my system, so how much ever I write and whatever time it is taking, or whatever time it is taking to store inside your system into any memory, let it be RAM or ROM or your hard disk. So how much ever bits it is transferring from your Word file to the data storage will be considered as a unit of transfer. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Next is access mode. Now we have 4 different types of access mode: random access, sequential access, direct access, and associative access. Now what do you mean by random access?
Randomly we can access the data.
Correct. Your RAM is random access. You can go to any address and access the data. So if I want to go to address number 1001, I need not start from 0000 address. I can directly go to address 1001. Whatever is the data, I can access that particular data directly by using the address number. That is what is called as random access. Sequential access means what? Even if I want to go to the 100th record or the memory location 100, I have to start from 0. पहले 00 का data read करो, then go to 001, then go to 0002, then 003 in sequence till I reach 100. So when I compare random access and sequential access is always going to take more time to read the data as well as to write the data. Whereas random access, since it is said that you can go directly to that memory location, it is going to take less time. Why? Because it is allowing me directly to go to that location and perform either read or write. Whereas if it is sequential, I have to start from the first till I reach that particular memory location. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what do you mean by direct access?
Direct access the memory, direct.
Access the data.
But then what do you mean by random? What is the difference in random and direct?
Ma'am, it does not require the address, maybe.
Does
No.
that require the data?
See, what happens when I talk about direct access and associative access, they both come under address mapping technique. That means we have to first find out the address and then go to the data and collect the data. Whereas we do not have to do that in case of random access. In random access, I know the address, simply go to the address and access the data. Whereas in direct and associative access, I have to calculate the address. After I calculate the address, go to the data and then access the data. Understanding?
Yes.
So we have different formulas for finding out the address when it is direct and associative. What are those formulas that we learn in detail when we come to that topic in this chapter? Okay. So these two techniques of access mode, they are called as address mapping technique. And why they are called as address mapping? Because to access the data, we have to first map the address. Map the address means calculate the address. Once the address is calculated, then we can go and access the data. This address finding is to be done in case of both operation. Even if you want to read, first calculate the address, then go and read the data. If I want to write, calculate the address, then go and write the data. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So we have
Yes,
four access mode, which is supported by your computer system. Go to the memory location, directly access the data. Go in sequence, starting from first location till you find the data. These two techniques are called as address mapping, where if you want to go to the data, you first calculate the address, and then after you have calculated the address, go and access the data. Okay, so we have seen three characteristics. First is the storage capacity, which is nothing but telling you that how much is the size of a particular memory system. Every memory system has a different size. Let it be a register memory system, cache memory system, hard disk memory system, RAM memory system. Everybody has different storage capacity. Then we have seen unit of transfer, that is how many bits and bytes can be returned during read and write operation. Third, we have seen what is the access mode for accessing the data. We can have random access, sequential access, direct access, or associative access. Next we see is, yes, Samar?
Ma'am, you told SRAM is expensive because the processor is much expensive than the RAM. So
Correct.
we can't buy only the SRAM, right? We have to buy the whole processor.
अगर आप खाली रैम बाय करोगे समर और आपके पास प्रोसेसर नहीं है तो आपका सिस्टम काम करेगा क्या?
नहीं मैम, अगर प्रोसेसर होगा तो सिर्फ रैम बाय कर सकते हैं ना.
आप सिस्टम जब खरीदते हो ना तो आपको सिस्टम में प्रोसेसर रहता है, रैम भी दिया हुआ रहता है. ओके, बट इन केस इफ यू वांट टू चेंज द रैम, यू हैव टू सी व्हिच टाइप ऑफ सपोर्ट इज देयर ऑन योर मदरबोर्ड. अगर एस रैम का सपोर्ट है और आप डी रैम खरीद के लाओगे तो आपका डी रैम एस रैम मदरबोर्ड में घुसेगा ही नहीं.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, nowadays if you see, all the computer systems are having DRAM. Why? Because DRAM के जो versions है, DDR1, DDR2, DDR3, DDR4, their features and their characteristics are more better as compared to SRAM.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it is not like that कि SRAM है तो प्रोसेसर बाय करना है. अगर सिस्टम को काम करवाना है तो प्रोसेसर होना ही चाहिए. प्रोसेसर के बिना सिस्टम काम ही नहीं करेगा. SRAM तो बाद में आता है. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Next characteristics is access time. What do you mean by access time?
How much time is required to access?
Okay. Access time is the time required between the request made for the operation and the time the data is made available to the user. Suppose if I have requested that I want in a search bar, I have typed search for the file called as syco.txt file. So the time I have submitted my request for searching syco.txt file and the time the system made me that file available, that is what is called as access time. So if I've given a request at 12 o'clock and if I get a response from a system at 12:10, so whatever 10 minutes that system has taken, it is considered to be as a access time. Okay, so it is a time when the request is made by the user to the system is searching for the request made, and then it is making that data available to the user. So whatever time that it takes for searching and giving the output back to the user, that time is called as access time. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me now, will the access time of cache memory be more than the access time of secondary memory?
Yes, ma'am.
I repeat again.
No,
Access.
ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Listen to the question. Access time of cache memory is more than the access time of secondary memory. True or false?
No, ma'am.
False.
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 Because anytime whenever anything is searched, it is first searched in the cache memory. So if it is available in the cache memory, immediately, without wasting more time, it will give the data back to the user. But if it is not there, it will go in main memory, which will take more time. Again, if it is not found in the main memory, it will go in the secondary memory, which will take more time, because again from secondary memory directly the data won't be given to the user. It will be first given to the main memory, and then main memory will give the user to the data to the user. Okay, so the time taken by cache memory is very less, then is the main memory, and then at last is the secondary memory. Clear? So access time of cache memory is small, little more access time is by main memory, and the highest time taken is by the secondary memory. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Performance of storage. Now we see that how your SRAM and DRAM performs. Okay, so by now we just know that SRAM is static RAM, DRAM is dynamic RAM. If the data in SRAM is 0, it will constantly keep on being 0 until and unless it is changed to 1. But if it is dynamic RAM, it will be changed by from 0 to 1, 1 to 0 randomly. Now let us see the diagram and understand what is SRAM. Now, if you remember in the third lesson, I had told you that one more type of storage for storing the data is called as flip-flop. Do you remember this term?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I had also told you that there are different types of flip-flop, JK flip-flop, SR flip-flop, and D flip-flop. Out of that, we already know what is D flip-flop. So what is that flip-flop, if you remember? Flip-flop क्या है? I had told you it is a type of storage, but what kind of storage?
It store 1 bit of storage.
Correct. It is a 1 bit of data storage. Either it will store 0 or it will store 1. So can I say SRAM uses flip-flop?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, SRAM can use flip-flop. Why? Because flip-flop is 1 bit of storage, either 0 and 1. And your SRAM is also static RAM, which will either store 0 or it will store 1. So when I talk about SRAM, what type of storage SRAM is using? SRAM is using flip-flop, which is a 1 bit storage. Either it will store 0 or it will store 1. So the data stored in SRAM is stored in the form of flip-flop, which is a 1 bit memory storage, either storing 0 or storing 1. Data is retained as long as power. Now tell me, what is SRAM? Is it volatile or non-volatile?
Volatile.
Volatile.
What is volatile?
It keeps on changing.
Volatile means keep on changing.
Temporary for storage.
It doesn't keep on changing.
And temporary.
Volatile means temporary. That means as long as power is there and if you're saving, your data will be there. If a power cuts and if your data is not saved, you have to remake the data. That is what is volatile. And non-volatile means what? Even if the power is there or not there, your data will retain as it is. Therefore, ROM is considered to be as non-volatile. एक बार information लिखा वो आप कभी भी open करो, you will get that information as it is. But in case of RAM, if you have not saved it, you won't get the data back because it is volatile and a temporary storage. So when I talk about SRAM, let it be any RAM, SRAM, DRAM, DDR1, DDR2, DDR3, DDR4, कौन सा भी RAM होने दो, each and every RAM will retain the power only if it is saved. That means if your contents are saved, your data is saved, you will get that data next time when you plug the power. If you haven't saved and if the power goes off or if there's any failure, you won't get the data back. Therefore, it is said to be as volatile or temporary memory. Let it be any RAM. Okay. Now, when I say no refreshing means what? Let us understand this. Now, look, observe this diagram. As I said, SRAM is using a flip-flop, which is 1 bit of storage, either storing 0 or storing 1. Now, how is the data 0 and 1 stored? Let us see that. Now, check this diagram. That is 14 point B, static RAM, SRAM cell. Now, this RAM has 2 lines, bit line, okay, where your data will be coming, 2 bit lines, okay. It has address line, it has power supply, and along with that it has transistors. Can you see these transistors? T1, T2, T3, T4, T5 and T6.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Now, can you see that these transistors are cross coupled? Cross coupled means they are joined in such a way to form a cross. Can you see this cross?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so why they are being crossed? Because whenever I use transistor and if I connect them in a form of crisscross like this, they form a flip-flop. Okay, understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I repeat again, this is your SRAM cell. Okay, SRAM cell, which has 6 transistors into it. But as we know that your SRAM stores the data in flip-flop, it does not store in these transistors. Therefore, these transistors are cross-coupled to form a flip-flop. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, please repeat.
Okay. Your SRAM stores a data in a form of flip-flop, which is a 1-bit storage, either 0 or 1. Now, we haven't used flip-flop over here, but to create an effect of flip-flop, we have used these transistors and joined them in a cross connection, cross-coupled. Okay. So when I cross-couple them, it has given me the effect of flip-flop, which will store 1 bit, either 0 or 1. Abhi theek hai?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now see, what input can I give? The input can either be 0 or 1. When I say 0 means input is low, and when I say 1, input is high. Are you aware of this? Digital mein
Yes,
hua
ma'am.
hai?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Low-
ma'am.
Bit low means 0 and bit high means 1. So can you see this C1 and C2 over here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
उसके
ma'am.
उसके आगे मैंने पेंसिल से कुछ तो लिखा है 0 and 1.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Now,
ma'am.
can you see this bubble over here on the transistor T3 and T4?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
What does this mean? It is not.
Yes,
If I send 0, it will become 1. If I send 1, it will become 0. So it is a NOT connection, NOT gate. What does NOT do? 0 है तो 1 output देता है, 1 है तो 0 output देता है.
Complements the input.
Complements the input, correct. So this is what complement that is attached on transistor T3 and T4. Now when C1 is high, write it down in the book if you want. C1 is high, which means what is the value of C1? 0 or 1?
1.
1. C1 high means it is 1. So your C1 is 1 and your C2 is low. C2 is low means 0. Okay. Now tell me the values of transistor T1, T2, T3 and T4. When C1 is high, which means C1 is 1 and C2 is low, which means C2 is 0. So if I have C1 as 1 and C2 as 0, what will be the values of transistor T1, T2, T3 and T4? They are crossed coupled to give you the effect of flip-flop.
T2 will become 0.
एक minute. I want values in sequence. T1, T2, T3, T4. T1 क्या होगा?
T1 0. 1.
T1 1.
T1 will
T1 0.
0 na.
एक minute. If everybody will tell at same time, how can I hear you all?
Ma'am, you said T2 is low na, 0. So T1
Ah.
will become 0.
I have just told you the values of C1 and C2. C1 is high, which is 1. C2 is low, which is 0. Now I want the value of T1 first. Give me the value of T1.
0.
T1 will be 0. Why? Because the line which is connected to T1 is C2. And what is the value of C2? It is 0. So what will be sent to transistor 1? Your value 0 will be sent to transistor 1. Understood how your T1 is 0?
Yes, ma'am.
Now give me the value of T2.
One.
T2 will be 1. Why? Because it is cross coupled with your C1. So since the value of C1 is 1, the value of T2 will also be 1. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Now tell me the value of T3.
1.
Ma'am, but these
One.
are the inputs, na? These are not the outputs.
These are the inputs. Yes, but I'm just telling you how the input is getting changed.
Okay, ma'am.
Huh.
Because of the cross connection.
Correct. Because of
Okay.
your flip-flop effect, the values are getting changed in such a way. Now tell me the
Okay,
value
ma'am.
of T3. Tell me the
One.
value of
1.
1.
T3 will be 1. Why? Because though C2 is sending 0, but since we have not gate attached over there, therefore that 0 is getting changed into 1. Therefore, value of T3 is
One.
1. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Now give me the value of T4.
0.
0.
0.
0. So can I say that when C1 is high and C2 is low, only two transistors are working, which is transistor T2 and T3. I repeat again, listen. Whenever signal C1 is high and C2 is low, only two transistors are enabled or only two transistors are working, and those two transistors are T2 and T3.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Why? Because the value of T2 and T3 is 1. So whichever transistors are having value 1, it is only those two transistors working at that time. Remaining two are off. Okay. So out of these two transistors, any one will be storing the value as 0 or they will be storing the value as 1 until and unless next input is not given by the system.
Sorry, ma'am.
Your SRAM is storing a data in a form of flip-flop, which is either 0 or 1. So to get that effect of flip-flop, I have cross-coupled these transistors. And when I give the input as high and low, only out of all the transistors, only two transistors are turning on, that is T2 and T3. And those two will be storing the bits either 0 and 1 until the next input is given by the user.
Okay, ma'am.
Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now let us take next input as C1 low and C2 high. C1 is low, C2 is high. Now tell me which two transistors will be used for giving the output.
T1 and T4.
Yes, ma'am. T1 and T4.
Value of T1 will be 1, value of T4 will be 1, value of T2 is 0, T3 is 0. Therefore, when we change the input as C1 low and C2 high, only transistor T1 and T4 will be used for obtaining the output. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this is how your SRAM works. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when I say no refreshing is used, which means what? If the data is 0, it will remain 0 till the next input is changed. If the data output is 1, it will remain 1 until the data is changed. Now, when is this refreshing done? Refreshing is done when it is DRAM. Okay. Refreshing is done when it is DRAM. So let us understand DRAM also. DRAM stands for dynamic RAM. Okay. So either the data is 0 or it is 1. Again, next time it can be 1, again 0. In continuation, it can be a combination of zeros and 1. So if there is the data, it is denoted by 1. If there is no data, it is denoted by 0. Okay. So presence is 1, absence is 0. It is less expensive as compared to your SRAM. Therefore, your SRAMs are replaced and whatever motherboards you have right now in your computer system and laptops are mainly for having DRAM into it. Okay. Now, when it is DRAM, we have to do this refreshment. What is this refreshment? We just study. Whenever the refreshment is done, no operation is performed. What operation? Neither read is done, neither write is done. It is used for which type of memory? Main memory. Now, in DRAM, the data is not stored in flip-flop. The data is stored in a form of a charge. Okay? Data is stored in a form of a charge. If the charge is there, that means data is 1. If there is no charge, that means the data is 0. Now, many a time that charge leaks. Leaks means many a time you're not able to see the data. Data रहेगा but display नहीं होगा. So what will happen at that time? We perform this refreshment. So whenever we continuously refresh it, the data is made visible to the user. Therefore, we say that refreshment is done if it is a DRAM, because since the data is stored in a form of a charge, that charge may leak. So whenever there is a leakage in the charge, the data is not found on the screen. So to keep that charge as it is, we have to perform this refreshment. And whenever this refreshment is performed, neither a read operation is done, neither write operation is done. After refreshment, we can do read and write. Okay. Are you getting?
Yes, ma'am.
So we have in the DRAM, the data is stored over here in the capacitor in a form of a charge. So since this charge should not leak out, the refreshment is performed. And when is this refreshment not done? Whenever a read and a write operation is getting performed. So right now, if I'm reading something or if I'm writing in a particular file, at that time refreshment won't be happening. But once I've completed writing, the refreshment will start. Okay, because what is happening in DRAM, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, any combination of a 0, 1 can be stored. So since that 0, 1, 0, 1 should not leak out, I will be performing this refreshment. And why it is required? Because I am storing that 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1 in a form of a charge inside the DRAM, which is in the capacitor. Getting?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And why they are being used these days? Because they are less expensive as compared to your SRAM. Clear?
Yes.
So we have seen the next characteristics, that is how both SRAM and DRAM perform. One is storing the data in flip-flop, which is 0 or 1 until and unless it is changed. But if it is DRAM, it can be 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, any combination. But to see that 0, 1, 0, 1 constantly coming, we are doing the refreshment. And whenever that refreshment is done, no data is read by the system and no data is returned to the system. Okay. Next is the cycle time. What is cycle time?
How much time is
By
required?
The time required for one cycle to perform.
Sorry.
How much time is required for one cycle to get completed?
Cycle time is nothing but minimum time elapsed between two consecutive read requests that is going to happen at the same time. Now let us say that we are sharing a data from a common PC. We have three systems, A, B, and C. System A and system B are taking the data from the system C. Okay. So if A and B send the request at same time, the system C has to fulfill the request which has come from A and B both. Now, when is the request come? Both of them have sent the request at the same time. Okay. A system ने भी 12 o'clock को request किया, B system ने भी 12 o'clock को request किया. But कितने time पे A को reply मिला और कितने time पे B को reply मिला, that will be considered as a cycle time. Okay. So the time that will C is going to reply to A and the time taken by C to reply B will be considered to be as a cycle time. Understanding?
Ma'am, please explain the difference between access time and cycle time.
Access time is within the system itself. मेरे system के अंदर ही either in the hard disk or main memory, I have a file called as experiment 1. So the time taken by the system to give me the experiment 1 is called as access time. Whereas cycle time is I have system which is shared on the network and then I want the data from some another system which is shared on the network. Therefore I told you A, B, C तीन system है. System A को जो data चाहिए वो system C के पास है. System B को भी जो data चाहिए वो भी system C के पास है. But the time taken by system C to give the reply to A and B both, that is considered to be as a cycle time.
Okay, ma'am.
Both of them have made a read request at the same time. 12 o'clock को भी A ने भी read request भेजा, B ने भी read request भेजा है. But C जितने time में उसको available करके देगा, that will be considered as a cycle time. Both are same, but the system is getting changed.
Yes, ma'am.
In access time, you're requesting from your own system, but in cycle time, you're requesting from a system which is shared over the network. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So it would be like that you are asking me for some PPT. Since I am on a network, whatever time I take you to send that PPT back will be the cycle time. And once that PPT is in your system and you access the same PPT, that will be considered to be as a access time. Now clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next is data transfer rate. What is data transfer rate? Information that is transferred between the two systems. Okay. If I am sending some message or some file to, say, suppose Iman. So if whatever amount of information I'm transferring, maybe 1 GB data, 2 GB data, 2 MB data, that is considered to be as a data transfer rate. Okay. So if I'm sending experiment 1 to Iman, and if the size of that experiment 1 is, say, suppose 2 KB. So what is my data transfer rate? The data transfer rate is 2 KB. Okay. So how do I measure it? I measure it as bits per second. So how many bits I'm going to transmit in per second, that will be considered to be as a data transfer rate. Again, this will be over the network where two computers are connected on the network and then they are transferring some data. Clear?
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Next, we say memory hierarchy. So initially we used to have magnetic tape, then we used magnetic disk, then we started using main memory, cache memory, and register. And apart from this, we also have secondary storage. Okay. So I can read in descending from magnetic tape, disk, main memory, cache, and register. If I read from ascending, it will be register, cache, main memory, and magnetic disk. So when I say descending means what? Memory size goes on decreasing. And when I say ascending means memory size goes on increasing. Understanding? रजिस्टर का साइज छोटा है, फिर उससे थोड़ा बड़ा साइज का कैश है, थोड़ा ज्यादा मेमोरी storage is in main memory, then in disk, then in tape. But if I read like this, it is more memory space in tape, then less in disk, then less in main memory, then less in cache, and very less amount of storage in register. So from KB to we go to GB or TB, or from TB we come to KB. Understanding?
Yes,
Here up till here.
Yes, ma'am.
So what we have done, we have seen what is SRAM, what is DRAM, how is the working of SRAM, how is the working of DRAM. We have seen characteristics, that is storage capacity, how much size a memory can store. Every memory unit has different type of storage capacity. Then we have seen what is a unit of transfer, that means how many bits and bytes can be read during an operation, read or written during an operation. Then what are the access mode? Randomly by using directly memory address, going sequentially, or by calculating the address and then going to the data and accessing the data. Then we have seen how much time a system can take to respond back to the request given by the user. So if I talk about access time, it is within the system. But when I talk about cycle time, the systems are connected on the network and then they are requesting to some another machine for accessing the data. Then we have seen that SRAM stores the data in the form of flip-flop, that is only 1 bit. So we do not directly have a flip-flop as a unit of memory, but we have transistors connected in cross-coupled way to give an effect of flip-flop. And then we change the input to these transistors in order to get the output. So whichever transistors are on, only those transistors will be giving you the output. If we change again the input, your output will be there on some another transistors. Then we have seen DRAM, which is not storing a data in the form of flip-flop, but it is storing a data in capacitor in a form of a charge, which is 0 and 1. So since that charge may leak sometime, so to avoid that leakage, we are continuously performing refreshment. So every time your data is visible. See, many times if you are there on a website and if your website is not loading, you press F5. Have you ever done that?
Yes, ma'am.
F5 करोगे तो पेज रीलोड हो जाता है, रिफ्रेश हो जाता है. तो सेम happens in your DRAM also. So since it is charged, so to avoid that leakage and to keep the data remain as it is to the user, that refreshment is done. And we do not do any such refreshment in SRAM. Why? Because there is no leakage of data over there. अगर 0 है तो रहता है, 1 है तो रहेगा ही. Why? Because we are not using capacitor there and we are using flip-flop there. Then we have seen what is data transfer rate, how much data is transferred between the two systems, which we calculate in the form of bits per second. Then we have seen the hierarchy of a memory. If we go from lower memory size to higher memory size, it is register, cache, main memory, magnetic disk, magnetic tape, or we can replace this disk and tape and directly write secondary memory also. Understood? Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Let us go to the next part now. So we have seen about RAM now. That RAM is random access memory. We go to any random location and we can access the data. We have two types of RAM, SRAM and DRAM. SRAM is not used because it is very expensive. So all the systems have now replaced SRAM with DRAM. DRAM is again a same, and we can go to any memory location, access the data, but only the difference is the data is stored in a form of a charge and a continuous refreshment is done. Now let us see the second part of a memory, which is ROM. Can I say both of them are a primary memory?
Yes, ma'am.
So if it is ROM,
Yes, ma'am.
it stands for read-only memory. So read-only memory means what? Can I go and change and type anything new, whatever I want, whenever I want?
No.
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 So it is, since it is read-only memory, that means whatever is written once, it is allowed only to read by the rest of the users. So who writes this data? It is already written by the manufacturer and given to you with your system. You're not allowed to change that particular data. But we have different versions or different types of ROM where the users are still allowed to change, but only once at a time. So what are those? That also we'll see. So when I talk about ROM, it stands for read-only memory. So it is a permanent type of storage. It contains programming which require to start a PC. Okay, so how is your PC getting started? Because of the data which is having inside, which is there inside your RAM. Therefore, we say that it is written by the manufacturer and not by the user. So आपको system को start करने के लिए जो programming लगता है, जो data लगता है, that is there in the ROM, and because of that data only your system is getting charged. Okay, it is non-volatile. Again, that means it is permanent and it is only for the purpose of reading. Your users are not allowed to write the contents inside the ROM. Let us see what are the different types of ROM. The first one is PROM. PROM stands for Programmable Read-Only Memory. Now, programmable read-only memory, it can be modified by the user, but only once. So if I bring ROM, if I bring PROM, I'm allowed, being a user, I'm allowed to change the contents once. How many times? Only once. If I have changed it once and if I again want to wish to change, I'm not allowed. So you can program ROM. If it is PROM, you can program it only once. Okay. The user buys a blank PROM and enters the desired content using a PROM program. So if you want to edit some contents or if you want to write the contents in your ROM, you have to go and get the ROM. You have to, the one which you get should be blank, and then you have to write the new contents into it and then put that ROM into your motherboard and then used by your system. So inside ROM chip, there are some small fusses which are burnt open during the programming. So how do you write them? You write them by burning some small electronic devices which are there onto the ROM itself. You program them and then you are supposed to use those contents. So ऐसे नहीं है कि आप program लिख लिया एक addition of two numbers and store into ROM. It is not like that. User related programs cannot be stored inside ROM. Only the contents which are required to start your system, like booting information, OS information, device driver information, all those contents can be written. But how they can be written? They can be written by burning some small electronic devices which are formed on the ROM, and then you are allowed to change the contents. Once you have programmed, you cannot reprogram it or you cannot erase the contents again. Therefore, it is said that if it is PROM, it can be changed only once by the user. The cost is more if they are small in numbers. Okay, the cost will go on increasing if you're having those many numbers of ROM inside your system, and it is always faster as compared to your RAM. Understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
Then next you have EPROM. EPROM stands for any idea?
Ma'am, extended.
Extended nahi. Erasable programmable read only memory. That E is for erasable. Okay, so E stands for erasable programmable read only memory. So this is also a type of a ROM that retain its content until it is exposed to an UV light. So now what I have to do is, my ROM will already have contents into it. EPROM means I want to erase and rewrite them again. Okay, because what we are learning is we are learning the types of ROM which can be erased and rewritten. So what we did in PROM, we purchased a blank and we wrote the contents by burning some electronic devices and programming onto it. What we have to do it in EPROM, contents will be already there. We have to erase that and then we have to write. So how they are being erased? They are being erased by exposing them to the UV light. Has every one of you seen RAM? RAM को देखा है?
Yes.
अभी RAM chip के ऊपर क्या क्या रहता है? Any idea? What is the color of a RAM?
Green.
Green. Green के अंदर क्या है? Have you ever seen? या green color के ऊपर क्या
ब्लैक
रहता है?
कलर के चिप्स रहते हैं.
हाँ, black color के chips है. Those chips are called as memory bank. The data is there inside that memory bank. Okay. So your EPROM also looks like your RAM only, a green color chip with black color memory banks onto it. But that black color will have, जो memory bank है black color, उसके ऊपर you will have a white transparent hole. What are that white transparent hole used for? When those holes are exposed to your UV lights, they will erase the contents. Just wait a minute if I can show you on the. See, can you see this holes over here?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is the part memory bank of your ROM chip, EPROM chip. Okay. When I expose this part to your UV light, at that time, the contents which are there inside this will be erased. Okay. They cannot be erased by any of the programs or nothing like that. They can be erased only by exposing them to the UV lights. Once they are exposed, जो भी contents है इसके अंदर वो अपने आप उड़ जाएगा. Understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. After the contents are erased, you can write. Just a minute. What happened? Once the contents are erased, you can write that content again back by using a special device. What is that device called? That device is called as PROM burner or a PROM programmer. ठीक है? तो यहाँ पे जो programming use किया था, again you have to use the same programming to write the contents inside EPROM. But यहाँ पे difference क्या है? हमने यहाँ पे blank लाया, प्रोग्रामिंग करके लिखा, यहाँ पे ऑलरेडी कंटेंट्स था, उसको यूवी रेज से एक्सपोज करके कंटेंट्स को इरेज करके प्रोग्रामिंग यूज करके वापस कंटेंट्स को लिखा. अंडरस्टूड द डिफरेंस?
Yes, ma'am.
Next is EEPROM. What does EEPROM stands for? Electrically erasable programmable read-only memory. EEPROM stands for electrically erasable programmable read-only memory. How are the contents erased over here? The contents are erased electrically. Now here we can erase the contents and reprogram it as many times as we want. Okay, so it is not like your PROM and EPROM. एक बार लिखो फिर जो contents है वो as it is रहेंगे. नहीं, in EEPROM electrically we can keep on erasing and we can keep on writing the contents. Both erasing and programming takes about 4 to 10 milliseconds. So they are much faster as compared to your PROM and EPROM. Erasing will also happen in less than milliseconds and your program will also take less than milliseconds. So the contents erase भी जल्दी हो जाएंगे और reprogram भी जल्दी हो जाएंगे. In EPROM, any location can be selectively erased and programmed. So if as I shown you the chip over here, so if this is a chip, any location can be selected and that contents of that location can be erased and can be reprogrammed again. Whereas what is happening in PROM and EPROM, everything is getting erased and everything is written again. Whereas that is not happening in EEPROM. I can select any memory location, go to that location, erase the content and rewrite the contents again. So that is the advantage of EEPROM over PROM and EPROM. Understanding? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
EEPROM can be erased 1 byte at a time. 1 byte means how many bits can be erased at a time?
8 bit.
So एक साथ 8 bit can be erased and 8 bit can be written again. Okay. So instead of erasing entire chip, which is happening in PROM and EPROM, I'm erasing 8 bits, writing 8 bits, again erasing 8 bits, writing 8 bits. Okay. So programming is easy, but it becomes slow. Why? Because here क्या हो रहा है in PROM and EPROM सब कुछ निकाल के we are putting everything again, but here I am removing bit by bit and then adding bit by bit. Understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that is what is your versions of ROM or types of ROM. So though it is said it is read-only memory, but with the help of PROM, EPROM and EEPROM, I can still erase and write the contents. Okay. By using a special devices or by using programming. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So it is non-volatile in nature, that is permanent data. It cannot be accidentally changed. So nobody can come and change the contents of ROM like that. Whereas I can have that thing in my RAM. If it is a experiment 1 file and if I've kept it open, anybody can come and change the contents of experiment 1. Whereas this cannot happen if it is a ROM. They are cheaper as compared to RAM. Then they are easy to test. They are more reliable than RAM. Static and do not require refreshing. Have I done any kind of refreshing over here? No. The data is stored not by using any of flip-flop or any of the capacitor. They are written as it is permanently. Therefore, there is nothing static in case of ROM. Contents are always known and can be verified. So whatever you write, that is not the user related information, but it is always the information required to start and boot your system. So whatever you write is known, whatever is written inside. Okay, known means the user knows कि क्या लिखा है उसने अंदर. Understood up till here?
Yes.
So we have seen two type of memory organization. Both are primary, that is RAM and ROM. So if I say RAM, it is considered to be as a main memory. Understood? Yes. Tomorrow we'll be seeing high-speed memories. Which are they? Cache memory, interleaved memory, and the various mapping related to cache memory. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.